Frampton Comes Alive. The album by Peter Frampton is on deck tonight on Life Revisited, a musical journey hosted by myself, Mark Waugh. The premise of the show is to introduce you to or reintroduce you to great music in my opinion. And then, of course, your homework is to go to YouTube. Dial up, Frampton Comes Alive. He also has live footage on there on YouTube. Dial him up. You will thank me later, and there will be songs that I mention in the near future. I, of course, am here with my producer, Billy, and his girlfriend, Darla. They are on their quest to go to every single state in the Union and find out what the favorite foods are. So, they're on FaceTime. They're always here with me on FaceTime. I don't know what you guys are going to do when you run out of state. You're going to come back here, aren't you? Anyway, they're on their way to Michigan. They're on their way to Michigan. They're not there yet. Now, moving right along, Frampton Comes Alive that just sent his success and career absolutely through the roof. If you've watched my previous shows, how I feel about live music. And this album, because I have not heard any other Frampton albums, studio versions, so I don't know how they sound. So I'm going to preface by saying that, but this album was absolutely fantastic. Girls went crazy for him, the Goldilocks, etc. And he's a good guitar player. He's actually a good guitar player, not just a pop dude. And great album. And I'll also say that, other live albums, because I love live albums, they will be a breakthrough album for that artist. Let's go with, these written down, Cheap Trick live at Budokan. That was one that sent their career through the roof. UFO, Strangers in the Night, one of my favorite albums of all time. That, to me, and I can't say this sent their career through the roof, but for me it did, because it's one of my definitely top 5 albums. And REO Live, You Get What You Play For, another great live album. And I say this because when I've heard some of these live tracks, and you know that if you're in a band and you're live on stage and the crowd's going nuts, you have some extra swagger in your step, and you're going to make and if you're good in concert, it's going to make for a great album, because I have heard songs on studio albums that are on the live albums, and they're not that good. There's no swagger. You're in a studio. You're by yourself. You know what I mean? Who could pull that off? Eddie Vedder probably could pull that off. Just having that much emotion and extra swagger in a studio album. So that's why I think live albums are fantastic if you're good live. So, first off, let's get to some songs here. You know these songs, and they're the obvious ones, but nevertheless, listen to the whole album. Listen to the whole album, Frampton Comes Alive. Show Me the Way. You have to. And if you haven't, go listen to Show Me the Way. Excuse me. Sorry, Billy, Darla. Lines on My Face. Do you feel like we do? That wasn't that bad, actually. Come on. A 4? Okay, I'll take a 4. 4 on the placard. 4 out of 5 points I get for my voice. And Baby, I Love Your Way. 3.5. Okay, I'll take it. Anyway, that's your homework. Go do those. Go dial up those songs on YouTube. Now, the story I have to tell is, first, I was doing stereo lights because I'm reminiscing about going to the stereo store and having stereo lights in my car and in my room. But I also said last week that I was going to go into stereo equipment. Bang & Olufsen. I forgot which store I went into that was just a stereo store. They just had stereo equipment, car stereo equipment. They had everything. I was in absolute bliss. But first, as soon as you walked in the door, and I think this was by Randhurst for some reason, I have no idea why. As soon as you walked in the door, Bang & Olufsen, things you cannot afford, were sitting right there. And then they'd send me to the cheaper section. But Bang & Olufsen, and this is back in the 80s, for crying out loud. All right, so anyway, I've got a story to tell. So this album, Peter Frampton Comes Alive, blonde curly locks, girls were just absolutely going nuts over him. I used to be a towhead, so I used to have good hair too, so just so you know. Anyway, there's a girl that lived across the street from Lincoln Junior High School, Fran Isban. If you know me, you probably know her also. And I often thought it would, and I don't know exactly why this album reminds me of her, except for she probably has good taste in music. But I often wondered how cool that would be to live across the street, and I mean right across the street, from your junior high school. People watching. Everybody loves to people watch. Tell me she didn't have some great people watching experiences. There was also some other girl on the other side of Lincoln who was a year older than me, where the buses came in. Anybody? She would sit out in her yard all the time and just people watch. And I often thought that would be really, really cool. So, that's my story. Fran, I don't know, but you have good taste in music. And I don't know why that reminds me of you, but it does. And we've talked about this via Messenger, I believe, or whatever. So, I think that is the show for tonight. I'm down here in Florida sweating profusely. It's been cloudy and rainy for the last few days, and yet I complain about it. So anyway, on behalf of my producer Billy and his girlfriend Darla, I am Mark Waugh, host of Life Revisited, a musical journey. I thought I was going to have Steve Miller Band next. I told frequent contributor Paul Colber I was going to have him next because he posted something on his Facebook wall that was Steve Miller, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do him next because Jerry Miller wanted me to do him. But ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, is next. I already have my props out for Electric Light Orchestra. Electric Light Orchestra. So we'll see you next time. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? And I hear you clucking, big chicken. And seen. And of course, if you need me, I will be in a van down by the river. See you next time.